Hey guys, we're doing well, we've been working on Byzantine builds, and Byzantines are really interesting because there's definitely a kind of an aggressive playstyle that I think is very similar to Mongols that you can play. Um, so I'm really digging the Byzantines. I've still got to hash out a 1 TC fast aggression build with them. I think there's a couple possibilities that can be done with them, but for now, there's just I haven't looked into it completely yet, but I'm going to be shortly. But for this video, we're going to do a 2 TC boom with Byzantine. So I think there's definitely some matchups where you're going to want to sit back and just do safe eco and boom up into a good spot and then push out on the map. There's like in Mongol mirrors, this kind of happens, right? If you go trade early, you're risking that your eco. But if you stay centralized in your TC and go into 2 TC or even just 1 TC and keep everything kind of in your base, it's hard for them to raid you, and you can raid their trade if they open up into trade. So again, 2 TC is kind of a safe way to boom. And the Byzantines, because of their cistern system, you're actually really good, kind of a turtley civ in the sense that you're getting more out of your second TC than other civs. Um, the concept behind this build is to drop your first cistern, get a fast second TC, and then drop your second and third cisterns after this. Your cisterns, um, from what I've tested, and I've tested a bunch, your second cistern should always come after your second TC if you're doing a 2 TC build. So if you're doing a 1 TC build, make that second cistern and go your aggro play. But if you're doing a 2 TC build, always drop the second cistern after your second TC because you're just cutting yourself off of like on average like 300 resources. So it's definitely always worth it to drop the second TC before your second cistern. And that being said, after you've dropped your second cistern and with the right macro, your second and your third and even your fourth cistern are going to come relatively cheap and quickly because you're going to be macroing super hard with wood infrastructure buildings, and that's going to really help pay for a lot of your cistern system. So we're going to dive right into this, and we're going to do the build for you guys so you guys can see it. We'll explain a little bit as we go, and then we're going to go back and we're going to review the build so you guys can get a better explanation of it, because I'll probably skip some steps as I play it.
Έτοιμοι. Πού? Τι ζω αυτό. Κατάσκοπος. Υπέβω. Χωρική έτοιμη. Αναμένω.
First villager will rally out onto gold. Then we're going to rally villagers onto sheep until we get up to 9 villagers on sheep.
Επλήρωσα. Τι εργάζομαι. Ναι. Κατάσκοπος. Ναι. Ασφαλώς.
Wherever you find a sheep, usually there's a pair. So yeah, always try to find the second sheep.
Ναι. Έκτισα. Έτοιμος. Ναι. Ναι. Ασφαλώς.
One thing that it's always good to kind of try to keep in mind too is where am I going to drop my second TC? Where is this going to happen? There's a good chance we drop over here. I don't mind dropping on the other side where my wood is at. That's another thing too. I really do like to have my wood be buffed by the cistern. So right now we're buffing our gold, stone, and food. But from what I've seen, it's actually better to drop your cistern towards the front here and buff this wood line over everything. So now that we have 9 villagers on food, we're going to start rallying villagers onto wood. We found a sheep. Here's his partner. Okay, this villager got his 190th gold.
Χτίζω αυτό.
This villager got the 200 gold, so now they're gonna go build the stone.
Βεβαίως. Εργάζομαι. Αναμένω.
And then one of these villagers from sheep is gonna head over to
Κινούμε.
start chopping wood.
Πλήρωσα.
And these guys that are chopping here, they're gonna go over to this woodlight once they're done. We'll set the hippodrome up with 6. We do mess up our spacing here. Try to get 2 spacings there always. Once we're up to 4 villagers on wood, we're going to rally 2 more villagers onto stone. That's gonna allow us to have enough stone for the second TC. Pretty much at the same time that we get our
Αναμένω.
wood collected.
Και λεύσεις. Καβαλάριος.
So it's a 4-4 split during the age up. That's kind of what we're shooting for, and then eventually, after that 4-4 split, we're just transitioning into mass villagers on wood. So now we'll rally more villagers onto here, and I'm just collecting these straggler trees right now. You could probably go directly onto here, but one thing I do like about collecting the straggler trees is that
Έτοιμοι.
you are
Πού. Τι. Χτίζω.
in ore right now with this, and then it's just nice to get that resources without having to worry about dropping a lumber camp really. When you also do have to build a house with this build, so make sure that you grab a stone villager to build a house, because he's gonna make you 8 stone building this house, so his idle time is less impactful overall. And then we're gonna go up to 12 villagers on wood.
Ναι. Χωρική έτοιμη εις και λεύσεις. Και λεύσεις έρχονται.
Rally all these villagers over. Got 11 villagers, 12 villagers, okay? And I just have all these villagers locked up into a control group. That way I know that I have 12 villagers selected, and they're going to be an easy to group up. And so now we got enough, we should have enough wood at this point. We're going to drop this, and we're going to drop a second TC up here. So I think right there's a good spot. And we rally villagers onto here. Now
Η εργασία. Η
I'll put one of these villagers and I'll start building my cistern across.
Χτίζεται.
Oh, not my cistern, but and then we're gonna split these guys. We're gonna grab 6 of you onto food. I'm gonna start rallying village. Keep rallying until you hit these,
Πάντες έτοιμοι.
and then I'll grab these 6 villagers and let's go into gold. And these villagers are gonna rally onto wood. So this is a very, like, I guess you'd say a greedy play in some sense, because
Έτοιμοι.
we're playing very much
Τούτο χτίζω.
for map position here.
Τι πράγμα θέλεις. Τι πράγμα
And then I want to grab
Ναι.
2 of you guys. Actually, that's a little bit too much on gold. I like to rally a couple on the wood here. I do want to get a mill up ASAP. I want to get my wheelbarrow, and I want to get my
Εργασία.
survival techniques up. So depending where you drop your second TC, you can drop your second TC a lot closer as well. But now I can actually drop even a third TC here, or a third cistern here.
Εργάζομαι.
And that's kind of the plus of going second TC and just leaving 3 villagers on macro onto um, on your stone, because you're gonna have more than enough resources to be aging up here nicely. Try to get your eco upgrades. Over here, we're a little bit heavy on villagers. Rather more villagers onto here. Again, build your houses with your stone villagers. Okay, I don't know why you're doing that. Come over here. And that way you guys can see now kind of like how this build is working, and you can see how our cisterns are spread really nicely. And we can actually probably hook up another cistern. We probably want to go this way. And then we want to start building infrastructure as we go as well. Don't neglect to build infrastructure. Where's my mill at? Okay, make sure you get this. And another thing that's really good is to get your if this mill had been in here, we could switch to our dialectus and get faster upgrades. And we're gonna switch that now. For our we're gonna do that now for our blacksmith. And we can do a lot of things with this extra wood. We can start walling our base. We can build infrastructure. We can do a bunch of things here, right? So this is just kind of the base build with this. Another thing, as Byzantines, you're not going to be able to build a stone walls or your aqueducts over stone walls. So going for wood walls is not a bad idea at all. And so yeah, you can have a really strong eco and you can be booming, and you're gonna just naturally, with these 3 villagers tapping away at stone, you're going up to 4 or 5 cisterns easily with no problem. So that's just the concept of this build, guys. There's definitely some fine tuning that can be done. You know, after dropping these vills, dropping this TC, if you rally, let's say, 8 of those villagers, or even all 12 of those villagers onto wood, or even an 8 split onto wood and 4 split onto gold, you're gonna have a good time in terms of getting infrastructure up a lot faster than we did. So there's a lot to be done. Don't forget about your technology buffs. This mill out here is nice, but a mill here actually onto the berry bushes. Even though deer is faster, getting this here on the berry bushes and getting that wheelbarrow upgrade faster, getting that horticulture upgrade faster, even your cyber techniques faster, all those things, getting them faster will just really help your economy to ramp up. So even this build isn't, that playthrough that we just did isn't 100% optimized, but it's a pretty strong build. And like comparatively, so you guys, depending if you've seen my other videos or not, but this 2TC build I do like a Mongol single TC trade opening, and like if I like go just raw into opening, no army first, straight into traders first, I'm gonna be getting 7,200 by this 10-minute benchmark. I'm getting about 1,700. Like max, I was getting like 7,300 on this 10-minute benchmark. And with this 2TC build, this right now this has a total of 7,600, almost 7,700 resources. So it's got a lot of potential. It's got a lot of raw resource power in it, and you can see all the tests we've been running. The potential for it is there, and even this build that we just did has a lot of refinement that could be done. You can get that wheelbarrow sooner. you can get some other upgrades a little bit sooner. But you can naturally go up to 4 cisterns, 2TC 4 cisterns really easily with this build. And again, if they're going aggressive and they're pushing you hard, it can be definitely a little bit harder to maintain that pressure. But I think after dropping that second TC, focusing on wood if they're pushing you really hard to get that extra infrastructure up ASAP, to be able to defend your cisterns. So um, we're just going to replay the build real quick and see kind of where we can improve things. But besides improve things, just go over the basic idea. So your first villager is rallying onto gold. Your villager splits, and everybody get your villagers queued up. Step one is queue your villagers. Pull all your villagers onto a sheep, preferably the sheep closest to your TC. Grab one of those villagers, send him to build a cistern. Preferably, try to always buff your sheep builds and try to buff the wood line. Prioritize the wood line. And you'll see that in this build, because we don't buff the wood line, we almost over collected stone because of it. So it's really important to try to buff your wood line over your stone and gold. But we just dropped over here because it was nice because it buffs a lot of nodes here, right? But actually try to buff your wood line. After this cistern, he's going to build a house and he's going to mine gold. Your very first villager spawning is going to go out, build a mining camp and mine gold. And then from there, we're going to rally villagers onto food. And we're going to rally up until we have 9 villagers on food. Bring your scout back before the 2-minute mark. As you can see, you're going to have a villager that's going to want to get onto a sheep almost immediately. And then we're rallying villagers onto wood here. We also have control grouped 3 villagers for the age up. You could potentially, again, this is that min-max type stuff, but you could potentially get your age up with 3 vills. So we pull the villager that does the 190th gold and 200th gold drop off to go build a stone camp. We're queuing up more villagers. We pulled 4 villagers onto the hippodrome, and we're going to build 3 villagers onto wood for a grand total of 4 villagers on wood, because we're going to pull one of our food villagers onto wood. And we're just chopping up these straggler trees here. Another important detail is to pull that 5th villager from here onto there. So you're definitely maxing out that in some sense. If you age up with just 3 villagers, your timing will be a little bit slower, but maybe you get your second TC even a little bit faster. So there's a strong consideration into tapping up with just 3 villagers and pulling this extra 4th villager onto wood immediately. This does work out pretty nice in terms of our timing, so I don't know how necessary it would be, but the plus side is you're getting this Imperial Hippodrome up pretty quickly, and you're not really using it, so I guess there's not too much of a point to be made about it. Maybe if you go the other landmark, you could argue a fast age up is better, but either way, that's maybe a point of discussion for optimization of this build. But for simplicity's sake, we're just leaving it at this for now. The tests do take quite a while to run, so for now, for the first version of this 2TC build, we're just going to do it like this. These villagers pull off, they're going to build a lumber camp, and we have a villager on the stone grabbing stone throughout this. So just to reiterate where we're at in the build, it's first villager to gold, rally villagers until 9 on food, rally 3 villagers to wood, rally 2 villagers to stone, and then rally villagers until you get up to 12 on wood. And then after that, rally villagers onto food. So you can see our wood is what's kind of slacking behind, and our stone's a little bit farther ahead. And this again is because we've had these villagers buff chopping, but not having these guys chop buffed slows us down a little bit. So luckily we do have enough wood here for the TC. So we're just gonna drop and we're gonna go build it just enough, and we're gonna go drop it a little bit further away. But you can see the timing on it is pretty standard, pretty good. You know, if we did it right in our base over here, right on the wood line, we'd be in a strong spot. Now there's two lines of thinking for the aqueducts. You can build your aqueducts on the way to your cistern, then build your cistern. Another thing that you can do is just head this villager all the way over here, wait till he's got enough stone to drop the aqueduct, which you would have had enough, and then drop the aqueduct first. Immediately get that 5% gather bonus on here, and then head back. So that's definitely another possibility, because just getting that 5% buff on these guys immediately isn't a bad option at all. Also, your second TC placement, I think preferably try to find a deer pack. You're going to want that food. But again, it's not end of the world if you don't. You can always go a little bit defensively with your second one. And you can see after we're dropping these aqueducts, we decide to stop those and drop the cistern up immediately to start buffing these villagers up, because they are collecting. And back to what we were saying in terms of splits, in terms of villager resources, these 8 villagers here on the sheep are more than enough to keep our 2 TCs going. So rushing these villagers onto deer might not have been necessary. These villagers might have been better, more prudent to go directly onto wood to get our infrastructure up and going faster. So that's something I think I would probably recommend. You know, it just kind of depends on how much sheep you collected to. Like, say you don't have sheep, so you go onto these. Or say these villagers don't go onto stone or onto gold, they go onto wood. I think at least you want to have a couple villagers on the gold, so you can kind of passively start getting your eco upgrades. Even though the cistern is giving a really good buff to your villagers, if you compound this with eco upgrades, you're going to be in a much stronger spot. And yeah, that's basically the build from here. You can see now by the 7-minute mark, we're going to have our third cistern up and ready to go. And we have a nice quick connection, and we can look at our auras here for our cisterns. We got a nice area to build infrastructure buildings here and have them connect. We do kind of mess up not connecting our hippodrome. That's a really big oof. Always try to drop your hippodrome in that first cistern's influence, like over here. Like, sure, you're not using it, but when you do start using it, right now it would have 60% faster production. Yeah, which is huge, right? So you go from 23-second horseman to it's probably like 12-second horseman at this point. No, it'd be like 18-second horseman, something like that. Anywho, yeah. So always try to get those buffs, and then you can see how we've got plenty of stone, even with just 3 villagers on it. And part of it is because we're dropping infrastructure, we're dropping this mill, we're dropping blacksmith. Again, this mill would have been much better here, and our research rate would have been increased by 150%. So instead of a minute 30, it would be like 40 seconds. Again, really big difference in terms of timing there. And we can drop our 4th cistern before the 10-minute mark. And so we're dropping it now, and it'll be up and good to go here shortly. So that's a pretty big deal, right? In terms of like how well your eco can scale here, because now with this, all of a sudden we have basically at the 10-minute mark, we're getting a 20% buff here at 9 minutes. We'll just pause it real quick. We're at 9 minutes, and we just got a 20% buff finished, right? And every one of our vills is encompassed. Yeah, every one of our vills is encompassed. We can start walling off our base for security to help keep raids funneled in. We do have 1 production building, and if we had macroed a little bit different, you can see right now we've got 10 villagers on gold. Like, we don't actually need 10 villagers on gold. If this was like 6 villagers on gold, or even 4 villagers on gold, and 16 villagers on wood, we would have had a lot more wood at this point. And you could see 2 ranges here. You could see that blacksmith, that hippodrome would give you influence. You could even drop Besides ranges, you could drop a mercenary camp. There's a lot of things you could start investing in terms of units. But once you drop those two ranges, that's gonna really chew up your wood because you start building archers. So, but if we're looking again just at the raw eco numbers right now with 41 villagers and that buff kicking in, um, we're running actually at like 49 villagers right now, almost 50 villagers worth of income. So anybody else that's running a 2TC build, there's actually still a ten villager differential now by the 9 minute mark, which is crazy. That you can compound it additionally like this, so it's really strong. It's kind of similar to what you'd see with like an HRE type of a play, in the sense that like you're getting inspired villagers, but the micromanagement is a lot easier because this is basically an Aachen, right? They're like mini Aachens. Um, we're getting our upgrades. We're getting quite a few upgrades here and there, but that's basically it, guys. This is the build that I would do for 2TCs. I would go 2TC and then into my second and third and fourth cisterns. And you can see with the passive income with my wood, and if you're dropping more ranges and stuff at this point, we would probably have enough for a fifth cistern. And if you were to drop a fifth cistern in this specific match, um, you could drop it in the back for safety. One kind of bad thing is that we didn't leave a lot of space back here, in terms of like our aura sharing. But the auras, you have to remember, the auras are only for your villages, right? So really, this highlighted grid is really what matters for um, infrastructure. So I think a fifth cistern back here would be a really good idea. Um, but if you felt like you wanted more space up front or start moving forward on the map, even over here to the east, northeast is not a bad spot, because your stone. One thing to note is that here 10 minutes, almost at 10 minutes, we've only got 300 stone left. So even though we're only macking like 3 villages on here, this stone is almost done. So looking to bring a cistern even like right here, so you can catch this stone and catch farms or infrastructure back here, wouldn't be a bad idea. I think that would probably be my next move, would be a cistern right here. So yeah, that's basically it, guys. I hope you liked the video. If you have any comments, optimizations that you guys try out and do, just let me know, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.